Hi everyone, welcome to another episode in this Climate of Freedom series where my good friend and the excellent world's best known climate skeptic Lord Christopher Monckton and I will fact check the climate extremists and debunk some of their pseudoscientific arguments. So today I found an article in The Guardian claiming that modelling suggests climate is considerably more sensitive to carbon emissions than thought. So they base this claim on new climate models or refined climate models and say that those models show that carbon emissions have an even more detrimental effect on the atmosphere and on our climate. So let's have a look at a very important question. Who needs climate models anyway? It is not often realized that predictions about catastrophic man-made global warming made by the profiteers of doom in universities, governments and in the far-out anti-free market environmental movements are not based on real-world measurements and data. Like I said, they are merely based on climate models, which I jokingly refer to as silly little computer games. But this article suggests that I should be more cautious and less condescending. So let's ask Christopher. If all we want to know is how much warming our sins of emission may cause, do we really need climate models at all?
Howdy, Naomi. In response to requests from our growing band of viewers, I'm not wearing my baseball cap today. It's a Stetson baseball cap, but nevertheless people have asked for a cowboy hat, and so, for the sake of our public, a cowboy hat it is. And no, Naomi, we don't need models. All we need is real-world data. We know, by measurement, that from 1850 to 2020 there's been about 0.9 degrees of global warming, which isn't much. Now, if we were to double the CO2 in the air, the extra radiation per unit area, which tells us how much warming we can expect, would be about 3.45 watts per square metre. Now, the extra radiation caused by all of our activities and all the changes to greenhouse gases, land use, deforestation since 1850 is about 2.9 watts per square metre. But 0.8 of that 2.9 hasn't yet caused any warming because the vast heat capacity of the ocean causes a delay in the warming coming through. Now, if we multiply 0.9 degrees by the ratio of the 3.45 watts per square metre CO2 forcing to the 2.1 watts per square metre of man-made forcing since 1850 that has caused warming to date, we can work out just how much warming a doubling of the CO2 in the air will cause. And you'll see these figures on the slide here. And the warming will be about 1.5 degrees per CO2 doubling.
Quite frankly, 1.5 degrees is a lot less than 4.1 degrees, which is what climate models from the IPCC claim to predict, or at least they used to, because apparently this article suggests that climate sensitivity is even higher. So is 1.5 degrees really all?
Yes, Naomi, even though the real-world warming since 1990 has been less than half what the UN's climate panel predicted that year, and they predicted it confidently, the modelers have paid no attention to their previous failures. In 1990, they predicted 3 degrees warming from doubled CO2. Now they predict 4.1 degrees instead of the 1.5 degrees that measurement shows they should predict.
How can we check if 1.5 degrees is correct?
The predicted extra radiation from doubled CO2 is about the same as the predicted extra radiation this century from all our emissions. So we might expect 1.5 degrees warming this century. And sure enough, the measured warming in the real world rather than in the models since 1979 is indeed equivalent to 1.5 degrees per century.
You know what I find truly astonishing? The fact that we don't derive our knowledge about climate sensitivity from real-world data, but rather from silly little computer games, so you can't call it knowledge at all. Christopher, you have not only shown how simple it is to calculate how much global warming we may cause, but also how one can check if your calculation is right. And it is spot on. What you've just proven is that climate models that cannot even predict the weather a week from now cannot predict the longer term climate either.
Well, the problem, Naomi, is this. They can tweak any sufficiently complex model to get any result they want. And it's profitable for the modelers to predict large warming. But their predictions have failed. The exaggeratedly large warming that they predicted isn't happening. So if all we want to know is how much warming we may cause, models are pointless. The real world data is enough, and it shows beyond any reasonable doubt that the warming that we may cause will be small, harmless, net beneficial, good for us, good for our fellow creatures on this planet, good for plant life, good for the planet as a whole.
Climate models are not only pointless, they are very deceptive, and they will continue to try to mislead us with even more ridiculous factors to boost the climate sensitivity artificially, because as we can see from real world data, there has not been as much of a temperature change as they predicted. So we should adjust the factors that they used in those climate models. But what they did instead is they increased the estimates for the climate sensitivity, which makes no sense at all. Those ever-changing climate models are ludicrous, and I think they want to actually mock us with their predictions. They think we're stupid and that we don't question what they have to say. And rightfully so, many people don't, unfortunately. That's why we're here to explain some of the science to you and why you don't have to be misled by those catastrophic predictions and think of yourself as a parasite to the planet and the climate, because you are not. As always, I want you to remember that I don't want you to panic, because there's no need to panic. There's only a need to be more reasonable. I want you to think. As always, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to follow me and what I'm doing in the world of climate realism and everything else that I concern myself with on this channel, then please check out my social media links, which I will put in the description down below. As I mentioned in my last video, there are many fake accounts of me circulating in the social media sphere right now. And the only accounts that are real are the ones that I put in the description. If you want to support me in this channel, then please do whatever you can or want to engage with this video, which means leaving a like, a comment and subscribe, because this channel is heavily shadow banned. And if you want to contribute in other ways, there's a Patreon link and a PayPal link down below as well, especially because I am currently involved in a court case against the German state media authorities because they want me to take down some of my most influential climate-related videos. I will, of course, update you on this situation in a video very soon. Thank you very much for your support and see you in the next one. Before I leave, hang on a second. I think I owe you this one. The original libertarian hat is back. Bye, everyone.